Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the season finale of Season 3 of Le Mans Ultimate here at Lightning Speed Racing, the hour and 45 minutes of Sebring. It's a very bumpy and historic track here in Central Florida. I used to live right about an hour away from this place back in my college days. And unfortunately, I've actually never been to this track before, so it is on my wish list of tracks to visit at some point, but regardless, we're going to have some fun racing here. It's pretty much where it all started here. We are going to go ahead and get started with Sebring. Sebring is a track that has been around since 1950. It is a very historic circuit, and honestly, its 1950 layout looks pretty different than it does. Its current iteration's been around since roughly about 2000, and actually, correction, its most current iteration's been around since 1999 with a few minor changes, a few extra runoffs created for the 2019 reiteration of this track. It used to be an old Air Force base, so once again, very bumpy, as it looks like just about everybody's into the pits. But yeah, it's a very historic track. Just gonna pull up some other track information for you guys here. 3.7 miles, 5.954 kilometers around, and we currently have 11 drivers on the field here today. So the championship in Hypercar is already decided for both the constructors and the drivers. That was decided last week in Sao Paulo when Antoine Ponset became drivers champion, and the team's championship for GT3s is wrapped up with the Lexus squad going ahead and getting that championship. But now there's still one championship to decide here. It is now gonna be the GT3 Drivers Championship. There's two drivers who can mathematically win this one: Jonas Bergqvist and Nico Perez. Those are the two drivers who can still mathematically win this championship, as we look to see if there's anybody currently on track. There we go, we did get somebody on track here. So here's the thing. If Jonas Bergqvist finishes, I believe, if he gets a podium in this race regardless, then he will win the Drivers' Championship. Nico Perez, here's the situation that he needs. Nico Perez can finish third if Jonas has a DNF, but otherwise he would have to win the race, and Bergqvist would have to finish no higher than fourth place. If it's a podium or better for Jonas in any situation, then Jonas will win the Drivers' Championship for Aston Martin. So, a good amount on the line here in the season finale, an hour and 45 minutes of racing action just here as this minute of practice wraps up. They've been practicing for a while now, just going ahead and doing some final checks ahead of time, everybody getting in the groove of things. So, we actually will have Nico Perez talking with us after the race, just to go ahead and discuss some things for Season 4. There has been a mock calendar that has been at least given to the drivers to kind of see what they think about it, and just kind of see what direction that we want to take the next season of Le Mans Ultimate here at LSR Racing for season number 4. And I see a Porsche, and that is definitely somebody who loaded it after us, so. But anyways, so yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this championship kind of unfolds. There's a lot to play for here in this championship, and it's pretty much just one last go at it, one last rodeo to wrap up Season 3, and then Season 4 will be underway probably in the near distant future. So, and when I say near distant future, I say it's probably going to be about a week or two in between at most. Don't have any confirmation. Nico Perez will probably be able to talk to us about that if he is available post race, whether he wins the championship or not. But qualifying is going to be a go. Just like last week, it is a mixed quali, so everybody is going to go ahead and give it a go around the track. At the same time, there's a pretty short amount of cars here compared to some of those tracks where we did have that split quali. So we have 11 cars here on track today. So let's just go ahead and run you through who we got here. Mark Santos back on the grid in the Ferrari. And then we have Mikhail Frokov also coming back. Mario Paradisio is back as well. Bradley Kennedy, Alex Drury, and Jamie Mungate is a name I haven't seen before, but he'll take the sole BMW seat as drivers get ready to begin their quali runs here. So it is a dry Sebring, so there will not be any weather in play for this race. So it will be dry tires pretty much for the entirety of the race. So once again, this is one of the longer races on the calendar. Not quite as long as our 2.4 hour Le Mans, but it is an hour and 45 minutes, so almost twice as long as regular race distance. We'll just have to see how it goes here around Sebring. So this will be a fun one, I will say. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this race goes. Sebring is a fun track. It's a challenging track. You have consistently changing tarmac and different types of terrain. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. So you got bits of concrete. You got bits of tarmac. You got bits of asphalt. You got a little bit of everything here. And it's very bumpy too. It's not a very easy track at all. You're probably going to be fighting your car pretty much a good chunk of the way around the circuit. We even see a little bit of a snap here early on from Jonas Bergqvist here. Now Bergqvist went quick in practice, but how quick will he be in the actual race? We'll have to find out, because he didn't really have a good run of it at Sao Paulo. So it'll be interesting to see if he can go ahead and wrap up this championship, or will Nico Perez have a go at it and win his first championship here. Either way, it will be a new champion in the GT3 field, with the previous GT3 champion not defending his title this time around. So he did make an appearance last week. He did appear in Sao Paulo for a one-off race. He just wanted to race Sao Paulo. Philip Smolka. He did get a podium in that race, but once again, he's pretty much only did that round, so he's not really. He said from the get-go that he wasn't going to defend this championship. So the championship here was going to be blown wide open anyway. But we did have our second ever hypercar champion in Antoine Poncet, with Mikhail Frokov being our two-time champion here at Lightning Speed Racing. He did it once in the BMW, and I want to say he did it the second time. Might have also been a BMW. I would have to double check that statistic. But we do have some preliminary laps on the board here. And once again, these are early laps, so early laps here indeed. So we'll see how everything settles down once we get going here. Here's our top 5. Right now, Sidhu is actually on top of the pile right now. So Bobby Sidhu in that Ford Mustang is actually on top of everything right now. So he had the quickest out lap. So we'll see if he can go ahead and put in a fantastic flyer. Jumping over to Johnny Luna, who will be running the Lamborghini despite what it shows on screen. When the race does kick off, it will reload. So that is just a visual bug that Le Mans Ultimate tends to have. We'll check in on Bradley Kennedy in the Porsche, runner-up in the Drivers' Championship. He'll give it another go next season, or he may switch classes. We'll have to see. I mean, there's a lot of question marks going into next season. We're going to have to see who does what. I've heard rumors of a draft potentially coming in, so although I believe I was talking about the draft for the calendar, so definitely not the NFL style draft, which could be interesting to see, but I just don't foresee that happening, to be honest. But we'll just have to see how this all plays out, because honestly there's a lot of question marks coming into the next season. Will there be LMP2s? Will Silverstone be on the calendar? Will we go to 3 classes? Will there be more split races? I mean, there's a lot of questions coming into next season. And also the question of who's going to be on which team, as Nico Perez there is just ahead of Bradley Kennedy in the hypercar. So we'll see if the Porsche, who is unfortunately leaving WEC for 2026 and onwards. So it'll be sad to see them go. They've had a very iconic and successful machine. Just unfortunately, they will be leaving the World Endurance Championship after 2025 is done, after the season finale in Bahrain, I believe it's coming up. But ultimately, they'll still be in IMSA, and you'll still be able to find them here, so don't worry. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people who are going to opt in for the Porsche. I mean, hey, there's people still running the Van Wall and the Estrella Fraschini in this season, so, and the Glickenhaus too, so don't worry, you'll still see some of your favorite manufacturers still give it a go. So fret not. If you're thinking you'll never see Porsche racing on WEC tracks again, thankfully we have Le Mans Ultimate, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Porsche is going to be a contender next season for the Constructors' Championship. Mikhail Frokov currently setting the top time right now. The champion of Antoine Poncet is not taking part in this round, so that is unfortunate for him, as Alex Drury has a bit of a wall touch there in his Toyota, although that could have been a bit of a connectivity spike, which is always a thing. You always do run into those connectivity spikes from time to time, so it does happen, but once again, we'll just have to see how it goes. As he is currently in P7 overall in the hypercar, so it'll be interesting to see how he manages this race. Alex Drury had some pretty good runs last time around, but just hasn't been able to really clinch any massive wins here this season. Oh, and he's snapping through the S's there. Going through those tricky technical S's. Gives him a bit of a spin. He goes off the track a little bit there, so very unfortunate. But he'll still have more chances to go ahead and get a good result here in qualifying. An interesting one is one that we haven't really talked about is Johnny Luna, who is in the Lamborghini. He is currently in P3 right now, only 1.3 seconds away from his main rival. Or I guess not really his main rival, but his brand rival, essentially. The Lamborghini and Ferrari beef. Although granted, I think Ferrari definitely has the edge in the WEC. Although not in the wet, apparently, because historically that Lamborghini is a good car for wet weather racing. It'll be interesting to see if that would be the case if it rains here, which I don't think rain is a part of the forecast, so I wouldn't expect any rain. I wouldn't get your hopes up for rain. I think we pretty much had our mandated rain race earlier on in the season, so he's into the pits now. Mario Paradisio in the Alpine in the pits now. Daniel Casemiro is also in a Porsche, so we have a few Porsches on track today. So let's take a look back at the GT3 right now. Perez is he's pretty close though. It's a purple sector 1 here for the Lexus, the championship runner-up right now. He is still one of the 2 championship protagonists. He is up by almost 7.5 tenths through sector 1. So that's the target time to beat, the 2:04.818. He's got another purple sector, about 2.5 tenths quicker this time, so it looks like it's about to be a full second quicker on this lap comparatively to either his previous lap or Jonas's lap. But now here's the thing for Perez, right? He has to not only win, but he has to hope that Jonas either has a DNF or he doesn't get a podium. He cannot finish higher than 4th if Perez is to win the championship. But Jonas Bergqvist, he just needs to finish in the podium spots. Perez can be third and Perez first, or second with Perez winning the race. But he cannot get a podium for Perez to win this title. But Bergqvist has been pretty quick all season long. Sao Paulo was not a strong point for him. But we will see. Jumping back to the other GT3 protagonist here. He's not improving on his time, so Nico Perez could have a pole position here potentially. They'll have a few more times to give it a go, but a 2:03.8. A 2:03.8 flat is pretty much exactly what he needs right now to go ahead and get this position done and dusted, to get this pole position. But once again, just taking a look at all of our GT3s. We have 5 GT3s on the field right now. So if Bergqvist finishes 4th or 5th, then Perez needs to win. If Bergqvist DNFs, then Perez needs to finish on the podium. That's pretty much the championship stakes right now. But Bergqvist isn't really improving though, so it'll be interesting to see. Sidhu was pretty quick on some of his opening laps. We'll see if the Mustang can continue to improve. Up by about 0.6 of a second there on his previous attempt, although that is not enough to garner a pole position. So he is improving. He improved in Sector 1. Actually, I think he might be about 0.6 off of pole time through Sector 1. So we'll see how Bobby Sidhu continues on with his qualifying. He is going to go ahead and continue on, trying to push on. We'll see if he's going to improve on his second sector. And it looks like he won't. So he's not improving in that second sector. 1.2 seconds off in Sector 2. And he goes very wide there. So that's that lap going to be abandoned. The McLaren isn't improving either, but they're on outlaps. Which, actually, yeah, Sidhu's on outlap too. So I think he was anyway. But we're going to go ahead and check back in to the hypercars, as the first one we check in is in the pits. Mark Santos about a second off of Mikhail Frokov in P2. Johnny Luna still holding on to that podium. Johnny Luna is still in P3. Kennedy has made his way up to 4th. Paradisio is up into 5th. Bradley Kennedy still is currently the lead Porsche on the track. Moonagate is going to go ahead and give it a go in the BMW. Drury is currently at the back of the pack, 11 seconds off the pace here, and he is fighting with that Toyota. Oh, and he goes off the track, so he's definitely not improving. He needs to really get a good lap in, because you're really only going to have time for about another lap or so with the timer the way it is right now. So once again, qualifying is going to be a crucial factor, because this track gets narrow and then widens. It has this kind of back and forth where it's pretty wide through a good portion of the track, and then it gets really narrow in the beginning of Sector 1. So pretty much from, I think it's Genbian Bend to the Le Mans curve all the way down the Ullman Straight through Sunset Bend. It's all pretty wide there. And then you get to turn 1, and then the track gets super narrow. So you really gotta, if you want to go ahead and get your spot, you really need to make it within that Sector 3. So, a minute 20 left on the clock for these drivers to go ahead and get their last qualifying laps in of the season. So season 3 is just about to be wrapped up here. Qualifying is about to be done and dusted here very, very soon. So we'll just kind of have to see how it goes. Now Jamie is improving, still about a second off, 1.5 seconds off of the pole time, but I think this might be Jamie's debut, because I don't recall seeing this name, but if this is Jamie's debut, it's a good race to kind of get used to everything. The championships are pretty much already wrapped up here in Hypercar as a whole, so pretty much done and dusted there. So it's a pretty low stress environment to go ahead and try to get these laps in, as there is, I believe that's probably the Lamborghini of Johnny Luna in the back, having a bit of a moment. Coming down to the final 10 seconds on the clock now. Coming across the line now. It is Jamie. Is Jamie going to improve? Jamie does improve, but not for any position. So now let's go and check back in. Oh, but Bergfist is done, and Perez is done. So Perez will get pole position in the GT3s. And it looks like, oh, look at this drafting situation here. We got Mark Santos running the back of Alex Drury, going through Sunset Bend. And that will be, Drury did get out of the way. He might have got forced way off there. Santos will come across the line. He didn't improve, I don't think so. Yeah, Drury's back in the pits. Moonigate will be the last hypercar on track. Just gonna double check that now. Yes. Do we have any other GT3s on track at the moment? We do, actually. We have Gabinski and Chris Kyle going ahead and trying to duke it out for... Oh, and that's a spin there for Gabinski. And the McLaren is just going to go to dive around the outside. And Chris Kyle is not improving, so we won't see a pole from either of these drivers. Sid, who is in the pits. So he is done on the day for qualifying. Chris Kyle, I mean, he was definitely not improving, so up and he's straight into the wall. So that's a rough one. I hope that damage doesn't carry over to the race itself, because that could be really, really, really rough if that is the case. So we're going to go ahead and get ready for the race itself to start. Once again, thank you guys so much for tuning on in to the season finale here of Lightning Speed Racing's season finale here for the Le Mans Ultimate Division season number 3. It's an hour and 45 minutes. So here we go. Didn't get out of the way for Santos. He ran my rear end. Ooh. That might be under investigation from the steward. So we'll see how that one plays out. But anyways, that is qualifying done and dusted. The order is on the left side of your screen. And I see some support there for Jonas Bergqvist.
Go to the grid for a race start.
So let's go ahead and replay the situation again. For Jonas Bergqvist to win this championship, he needs to finish on the podium. That is pretty much his primary goal. Or ahead of Nico Perez in general. So he can be 4th and Perez can be 5th. And Jonas can win the title. For Perez, it's a bit more complicated. There's a few different situations. If Jonas has a DNF, so if he doesn't finish the race, then Perez has to get a podium or better. Or, alternatively, Perez would have to win the race and Bergqvist would have to finish no higher than 4th. And then Nico Perez would win the championship that way. It's more probable for Jonas Bergqvist to win the title, but he didn't have the best of times in Sao Paulo. And no problem. If you have any other questions, feel free to let me know, and I will answer them to the best of my ability. So, in the GT3s, there's really only 2 drivers who could mathematically win this championship. It is between Bergqvist and Perez. The Drivers' Championship and the Team's Championship for Hypercar has already been settled. The Cadillac team won the championship, I think, at Bahrain for their challenge, and then Antoine Ponset, who is not here today, he wrapped up the championship in Sao Paulo last week. I think Lexus wrapped up the championship previously, but we'll have to see how it goes here. And yes, he has to outscore him by 20 points essentially. So here we go. It is a Ferrari 1-2, something you'll probably never see in Formula 1 for the rest of the season. As we're about to go ahead and get racing here very, very shortly. They're making their way through Sunset Bend. It is 8 hypercars, 5 GT3s, and they're going to be jockeying for a position. This track gets very narrow into turn number 1, so here we go. Is it going to be the day for the Ferraris to go in and take a win? Is it the day for a Porsche to take a win? Are we going to see a shock win from a Lamborghini or an Alpine? Alpine has won in LSR before, but I don't believe Lamborghini has. So here we go. BMW and Toyota still have a chance here, but we'll see now as it is underway for the hypercars. They're going to make their way down into turn number 1. The GT3 is not too far behind. Mark Santos jumping into the lead of this race going through turn 1 as we go up over the GT3s. Nico Perez is holding up very nicely in that P1 position for now as they make their way through the first sector. Hypercars now still giving it a go. It is still a Ferrari 1-2 to go ahead and get this thing started. So once again, it is good times here, and they actually did fix the timing from last time. If you remember from the last 2 rounds, the timing was kind of wonky. So they did fix that, so the timing is now back up and running per usual. So we will actually have gaps here that aren't breaking every quadratic formulation known to man, but here we go. Some tight battles here for the lead, but let's go ahead and give a look to our championship protagonist. Here's the current championship leader of Jonas Bergqvist here. He's going to go ahead and try. He really just needs to run away from Kabinski, Kyle, and Sidhu, which in previous rounds has been a pretty easy task comparatively, but Interlagos really was just not a good track. It was pitch black, so and then we have Kabinski there just having a bit of a run through the grass as Chris Kyle's looking to go ahead and get up the inside to get the last spot on the GT3 podium. They're going to duke it out going side by side, and this battle right here is good news for Jonas. Not so good news for Perez, but good news for Jonas, because right now Perez will outscore him, but not by enough to clinch the title. So he really needs Bergqvist to finish outside of the podium for this to go the way of Perez. So the 2 GT3s will follow each other pretty closely through as Bradley Kennedy is going to get a pass, but Kennedy goes wide, and Mario Paradiso, ooh, that's a bit of a rough one there, but we'll see if he can catch back up. We know Bradley Kennedy is resilient, if nothing else, so I have a good feeling that Bradley Kennedy will go ahead and jump back up the order. Pardon me there. Sometimes commentators do get frogs in their throats occasionally, so I do apologize for that, but we do see, and that's the thing about LSR too, is that there's a lot of battles that do go down to the wire, and we've seen some beautiful moments across the season. I mean, and Soda Fraschini winning at Le Mans after a tough fight with a Cadillac was probably my highlight of the season. So, but next season is expected to be pretty solid too, because Silverstone is very likely coming to the calendar. It was part of the draft calendar that I have seen. So Silverstone should be a fun track next season, but I do agree but I'm tiss. I do agree that it is awesome that we've seen a championship battle come down to the wire, and it's pretty much just all or nothing now for these two, Bergqvist and Perez. I mean, you got them both on your picture right now, and these two are just going to go ahead and duke it out like they have been all season long. So we'll have to see how this goes. It is a slightly longer race than usual to go ahead and wrap things up here. So once again, should be some good racing here, as we actually have Munigate already in the pits in that BMW. Yeah, so interesting that Jamie Mungate is into the pits. So that's a bit of an interesting one. But I do want to go ahead and agree, and I'll extend that shout out to all the commentators that have taken part of the booth this season. Whether it's myself, whether it's Jonas, whether... I'm actually not sure entirely who else has been in the commentary booth all season, but I do want to extend this to all the fantastic commentators that have jumped into this booth at some point during the season. Massive thank you to everybody who has made these races possible. I do want to also shout out the LMU admins who work vigorously behind the scenes. And oh, here we go. Here's a bit of a battle here. So there must have been a moment where Bergfist is now about 3 seconds behind Nico Perez. So it must have been a bit of a moment that we kind of missed there. But Adrian Gabinski now is getting pretty close to the back of Adrian Gabinski is getting really close to the back of Jonas Bergfist here. So we'll just have to see if he can catch up or if he can start pulling away again. And Kyle is also pretty far away back as well. So this could be interesting. This could throw a wrench into the works for the current championship leader, as he does have a Ferrari chasing him down here as we are about... Wow, my brain doesn't have mathing. It's been about 5 minutes so far in this race, pretty early on. Still some good racing. I'm actually really surprised. So that must have been damage on Jamie Mungate's car to see that kind of damage already in this stage of the race. I mean, Sebring isn't an easy track for anyone who's driven it. You will know, and I think Adrian had a bit of a, maybe touched a little bit of grass there, I think, just coming off a corner exit, but coming onto the Ullman straight now out of the Le Mans curve. But for anyone who has ever driven on Sebring, you know that this track is bumpy. It will throw you around with no hesitation, and oh, that's a little bit of a slide there from Adrian Gabinski, having a bit of a moment there in this race. So once again, it'll be, I mean, that just kind of adds to the point. It's not an easy track. The track gets really wide and then gets really narrow in some cases, but look at this. Lamborghini versus Ferrari, a near century-old battle. And we're seeing it here again as they continue to fight it out on track. And this allowed Mark Santos to go ahead and run away. These two have done battle over the seasons. Both drivers were a part of the inaugural season of Le Mans Ultimate back when we only had hypercars. Johnny Luna was I believe he was also in the Lamborghini, although around this time in season 1, Mikhail Frokov was running that BMW that he ended up taking the championship with. Our two-time champion trying to chase down Johnny Luna, Johnny Luna's been doing some magnificent work inside of that Lamborghini. I believe we have also seen him in the 963 in the past. So he does like the Volkswagen Group cars, although unfortunately neither of these cars are in the World Endurance Championship anymore, which is particularly sad for the Porsche fans. But this is a beautiful battle we have here between Frokov and Luna. I mean, these drivers, they've raced with each other for 2 seasons now, and Drury's out. So we actually do have a retirement on track. Alex Drury is out in the Toyota, so that's Toyota season done and dusted. I mean, just taking a look at the statistics, it was not really a great season for Toyota this time around. We'll go ahead and talk about the standings here. But yeah, I mean, both championships have already been decided. Toyota was down pretty far back, so Toyota is actually one of the lowest rated cars, and it is the 3rd lowest rated car out of the cars that were used this season. The only cars it beats were the Aston Martin and Glickenhaus, and even then it only beat Aston Martin by 4 points. Glickenhaus, it had about double the points and then some change. And then nobody drove Van Wall this season, so they are technically ahead of them. So, but I mean, they're about 4.5 points off of Peugeot, and that was really their closest rival this season. But here we go. Frokov going to go and try to get around the outside here. He's going to try to push it around the outside. And oh, force feedback went out for the Toyota. That's what we have just heard now. Oh, you hate that, like, your championship could come to an end just because of a mechanical failure. But here we go. The two championship contenders duking it out here once again. So they did pull away from Kabinski, and Bergfist is pretty much right up back on the gearbox of Nico Perez. So some good battles here on track in both classes. I mean, so if you guys want a bit of story time while we're here, I've seen a championship decided by a force feedback failure. Was it a force? It was either, I think it was a wheel failure. I think the wheel just outright disconnected. It was an F1 race, and it was a season finale race in Baku. And a driver was like, he pretty much had the championship in the bag as long as he finished a race. And then his wheel disconnected and he ate a wall and ended up losing the championship because of a mechanical failure. So mechanical failures aren't just exclusive to real life racing. Sim racing can also have a fair share of mechanical failures. So it really is. Yeah, it's the most unfortunate thing. It's almost like, it's honestly crappier than if you have a Wi-Fi disconnect in that ends your race, because a Wi-Fi disconnect is usually a pretty easy thing to fix. But I mean, if it's a mechanical failure, there's a potential that it's actually going to cost a good amount of money to get that fixed. And I can't speak for everybody else, but I am certainly not a millionaire, so I don't have a ton of money to immediately throw at a replacement wheel, and I'm sure a good amount of people are also in that same state. So yeah, it's really tough. Hopefully it's just a temporary issue for you there, Alex. Hopefully we'll see you back next time around when we're back in Le Mans Ultimate. Which, if you guys are kind of sad that the season is ending, don't worry. The season gaps usually are not that long. It's usually about 1 or 2 weeks in between seasons. So we should be back on track very, very soon after this. But I mean, speaking of close, I mean, can you get much closer than these two? Yeah, you couldn't even fit a smart car in between our two championship protagonists here in the GT3s. Here's an idea. Let's actually try to get on board, and look at this. The battle is raging on here. We're going to hold off on that for a moment because this battle is getting intense. Perez is putting on a beautiful defense here. Minister of Defense in the Lexus right there. Putting on some beautiful defensive, and he's being respectful about it too. He's not being dirty by any stretch of the imagination. It's just good, clean racing between these two. But Jonas Bergqvist is going to go ahead and get the run down the Ullman Straight. He had the slipstream there, so he's going to get a bit of an advantage. He'll try to stick it around the outside, but the Lexus is not going to give it that position. But he had a bit of a slow curve. Sometimes going around the outside of Sunset Bend is a good option, but he will keep that position as Mark Santos does go ahead and get on through. The Ferrari and overall race leader jumping on through. Let's check back in with this hypercar battle here for a bit, because this is a very strong battle indeed. So here we go. Here's just a crazy thing too. That's just the beauty of multi-class racing now, is that you have two battles for positions, and especially when one of them is a championship deciding battle. And I mean, the hypercars have to get through. The GT3's got to let them through. And ultimately, it can ultimately just make or break a race. There's a saying that I've learned from my time casting multi-class racing here, is that traffic giveth and traffic taketh away. So there's a lot of cases where sometimes the traffic can ultimately just ruin a race. So, I mean, I've seen hypercar leaders get taken out by GT3 traffic and vice versa. So, good thing it didn't disrupt this battle too much. And oh, contact there between the two. Perez and Bergqvist coming together. And that is not going to be great for Bergqvist. He only lost one position though. And sometimes when you get two cars battling like that, especially on a track that goes from being very wide to being very narrow in a short amount of time, that was kind of bound to happen. And I'm sure Nico Perez absolutely hates the fact that there's contact, because that could be a penalty for him. So even if he does win this race, as we see Kavinsky go very wide there off a corner exit, which might allow, doesn't quite allow Bergqvist back through. But I mean, I mean, as a racing driver, you just hate to see it. You hate to see that your rival goes ahead and just kind of, oh, what happened to Johnny Luna? It was a spin off the exit of Sunset Bend. He was battling it out with Mikel, but ultimately it just wasn't there in the end. Lost a grip on that Lamborghini ST63 and it just spun him around. You hate to see that kind of thing, but once again, it does happen sometimes. I mean, it just takes the slightest bump to really unsettle a car. So, I mean, it's not the first time it's happened here at Sebring, and it's certainly not going to be the last. I wouldn't be surprised if it's not the last time today we actually see a spin of that nature. But championship leader Bergqvist did get back past Adrian Kabinski, and now he's going to go in and try to chase off and get back to Nico Perez. Now, I do want to say, I think that, oh, a bit of a brake lockup not too far ahead of these guys, but I do want to say that I think Bergqvist, in terms of just raw pace, might be the quickest car on the field in terms of the GT3s. I mean, just taking a look at the fastest lap here, Bergqvist does have the fastest lap by over a second, by the way. So Jonas Bergqvist's fastest time, although unfortunately we can't show that. Actually, we kind of can, actually. So we'll show it between our top two. I guess not. Unfortunately, we are unable to show kind of the best between them. But Nico Perez's best time was a 2:05.490. Bergqvist's best time, a 2:04.341. So over a second faster. So, and Munigate is out as well. So we are down to 6 hypercars and 5 GT3s. We are down to 11 cars from the 13 that started today's race. And yeah, we're seeing some very fantastic battles up and down the field. Now everybody has spread out kind of in a holding pattern that we will probably see for quite some time until somebody potentially makes a mistake or has a pretty bad accident. But I think Bergqvist is going to try to close back up to Perez. It says, that's why it was saying Perez was a lap down. But if we look at the GT3 specific standings, then that is, we know he's only a lap down compared to the hypercars. So once again, Mark Santos, Nico Perez, your current race leaders on the day here so far. We are a little over 15 minutes into the race, still about an hour and a half left to go, a little under an hour and a half left to go. So here's just the gap to the leader here in GT3s. We do have a battle potentially getting pretty close here, so we might have a battle here up for grabs pretty shortly, as it is going to be soon between Sidhu and the McLaren of Chris Kyle. Those two cars are going to come to blows here pretty soon, so it'll be interesting to see that happens. We know the Mustang is a better car than it really has any right to be. I mean, it's blockier than any other car on this GT3 field. The only car that is similarly blocky is the Aston Martin of Bergqvist. But even then, if you understood the basics of aerodynamics and you said which was more aerodynamic between the Mustang and the Aston Martin, most people would probably venture to say the Aston. But still, that Mustang is a pretty solid car, I would say. It's a lot of fun to drive, even on controller, because I do race on a controller. The Ford actually finished fifth No, they finished fifth in the driver's standing, or the overall standings for GT3. Not too far behind Ferrari. They were about 8 points behind Ferrari. So, not bad, and they're pretty marginally ahead of McLaren, so, I mean, there's not really any spots in this GT3 field that could change. I mean, Lamborghini and BMW are about 5 points apart, or actually they're about half a point apart. but neither one is in this race, so that battle is pretty much just going to be done and done. Ferrari, if Ferrari could win, then they'd have a chance of jumping Corvette for third. But I think in general, I think this might be just, I mean, there's a chance they might still do it anyway, but we'd have to see. If they got second or first, they would definitely jump up to that top spot. But as always, we cannot see into the future. We can only see what's right here in front of us. And right here, Johnny Luna and Daniel Casemiro. It is Lamborghini versus Porsche. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and take a quick step back and go ahead and give you guys some, as a friend of mine likes to call it, temporary lit out engines. We're going to ride on board with the Lamborghini. And we'll be right back. So don't go anywhere. Alright, we are back here, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you enjoyed temporarily loud engines. Just go ahead and enjoying the sound of the Lamborghini SC63 making its way through track. Now, during that break, he did get past Daniel Casemiro, so he is back up into those podium positions. We got about a minute or an hour. It'd be crazy if we were already at a minute. I know time flies, but not that much. We have about an hour and 20 to go here on the track, so a little under an hour and a half. And all these guys are pretty much just kind of in a holding pattern right now, trying to manage tires to trying to make the fewest amount of stops humanly possible. So I think pretty much now it's just going to be a bit of a holding pattern until we get to the rounds of pit stops. So I guess we'll go ahead and take this time to go ahead and talk about just talk about what could be happening next season. So now I will go ahead and preface this by saying that everything here that I'm about to mention is purely speculation and just from things I have seen or heard, so nothing is set in stone. But once again, if you are gonna miss the action, because I know I will, you won't have to miss it long, because they'll be back. I think there is a gap week, or maybe 2 gap weeks, and then it is back to LSR action here. We do have a Formula 1 division that I believe is starting back up here soon, so be sure to go out and go ahead and subscribe, turn on post notifications, and drop a like if you don't mind. It does help the channel out pretty nicely, and then allows us to do a lot more fun stuff here at Lightning Speed Racing. Le Mans Ultimate Season 4 is going to be right around the corner, so I think at most you're going to have to wait 2 weeks in between rounds, at the absolute most. So don't fret. You won't be missing out a whole lot, because pretty much you'll blink and then we'll be right back into the swing of things. So from my understanding, we are going to keep the same format for this coming season. There are still some things that will have to be discussed, so there may be some rule changes, and there may be some things that are kind of set here that are, which once again, everything here is going to be speculation, but there's a lot of it that will probably just remain speculation. But there was talks of potentially bringing back LMP2s, but I think that idea ended up being canceled. We are going to keep the GT3 and Hypercar lineup. Maybe an LMP2 round here or there, but I think LMP2s might end up being their own championship. But once again, all speculation. Silverstone, it has a pretty high likelihood to be a part of next season, so if you've ever wondered what Hypercars would do around Silverstone, then you don't have to wait much longer. You'll be able to see it here at Lightning Speed Racing. And then I think we're gonna have more of the GT3 split round, so with about half of the, so this season we had a split round essentially, where 1 week it was a Hypercar challenge and then another week it was a GT3 challenge. I think there's gonna be more of those this coming season. It won't take up the entirety of the calendar. I think there's probably gonna be maybe 1 or 2 more races that become split rounds, but probably no more than 2, and probably actually just 1 more round will be a split round. So it'll be interesting to see. But I actually want to hear your guys' opinions, as we do have pretty much a pretty big gap with a lot of people here right now. So I want to hear your guys' opinions. What do you guys think about? Oh, hang on. We have a Porsche on track that is stopped. That's Casemiro. Casemiro is just stopped on track. I wonder what happened there. Casemiro, the second Porsche on track, is just stopped. He's still stopped. Yeah, I'm honestly not too sure what's happening here. I mean, that's a hazard, and I'm surprised. I'm surprised he hasn't been disconnected or anything like that. Cause yeah, no, he's still just there. Casemiro is still just sitting on track. That could be a pedal issue. But yeah, Albie's into the pits, and he is. Yeah, I think, yep, he's out of the race. So now we're down to 10 cars, 5 in each category. Casemiro now the latest casualty in this race. But I do want to catch you guys' thoughts on what do you think is, or how do you guys feel about the split rounds that we had this season, where we had a round specifically for the GT3s and another round specifically for the hypercars? Would you guys like to see more of that this coming season? Because honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing at least maybe one more split round. I think it was a lot of fun doing Outer Bahrain as a split round. I think that was really enjoyable. It was really good racing there too. We even saw some of the hyper guys come on over to the GT3 side and go ahead and duke it out of it, with actually Antoine Poncet winning that round. So the hypercar champion ended up winning in the GT3 specific round, so that was an interesting thing. But yeah, just let us know what you guys think, or if you guys have any other questions or onboards that you would like to request, go ahead and let us know. But right now, we are going to focus on this battle. It is Alpine versus Porsche. It is Paradisio and Kennedy going ahead and duking out for a position. Now the Alpine is going to try to go ahead and get some kind of positioning here. Bradley Kennedy chops him off. The Alpine running that Mechrome V6 is going to go ahead and just battle it out, just going through Bishop Bend, and now onto the Ullman Straight after Le Mans curve. They're making a run to Sunset Bend. Now we know that the Mechrome engine isn't exactly the most powerful hypercar engine, but he did catch up a little bit, but definitely not enough to try to make a move here, unless Kennedy has a mistake of some sort. But here we go. The Alpine is going to go ahead and try to make the run down to straight, coming into turn number 1. And now this is where the track gets pretty narrow, all things considered. So here we go. This battle is still going to rage on. And I mean, the Porsche is doing pretty good. We know Bradley Kennedy is a fast driver here in the series. And actually here, let's get a look at it from the back of the car. Let's just kind of see how close the Alpine is going to get here, because we know he's going to get pretty close. He always is getting pretty close to some of these corners. It seems like he might be a bit better on the brakes as these drivers continue around. And I mean, this is such a beautiful sound. And I mean, it is a shame that we're losing this car, and that we're probably outside of the 8 Hours of Bahrain, I think is the season finale of the WEC, of the World Endurance Championship in the real world. It's a shame that we won't be seeing this car again, or this battle again, I should say, unless Alpine joins IMSA or Porsche rejoins WEC, which is a possibility, and I think that's the possibility that everybody's kind of hoping for here, but we'll just have to see. We'll see if Paradisio is going to go ahead and try to catch up. Now here's a view from Paradisio's Alpine. He's going to get close, but no Tamale, as they now make their way through the track. I mean, they're going to fight tooth and nail for pretty much any kind of position. This is really just for not being in dead last. The Porsche is better on the straights, as we're seeing, but it looks like the Alpine might be a bit quick in the corners. Now, I do want to go ahead and say that I think they took all the Formula 1 budget and threw it into the Alpine hypercar project. That's just my little theory, and here we go. It's going to get close, and you can just see from this view how bumpy this track is. He's going to try to get it around the outside. Is he going to make it stick? Is the Alpine going to do it? We're going to have to see. Alpine is going to go ahead and try to make it stick, but he just runs out of room. Good hard racing between these two drivers. Here he goes, he's going to go for it again. A bit of a lock up there, and into the wall goes Bradley Kennedy. And that is going to certainly be damage on the Porsche. I don't know what happened there. That might have been a rear brake lockup. But ultimately, another battle ends in tears, as Paradisio will go ahead and start to run away. It's got about a 5-second gap now to the Porsche behind, but the Porsche is probably going to try to catch up. The Porsche will have the advantage on the straights. So we'll just have to kind of see how that battle will develop. But another battle that is developing is, let's just say this is round who knows what in terms of Jonas Bergqvist versus Nico Perez today. I would say at least round 4 of them duking it out. Bergqvist is now getting pretty close to the back there of one Nico Perez, as we are just about to get close to the final hour of the season, which is, I know I said it season 1 when I commentated the finale for that season, but it is so crazy to see that we are pretty much at that stage yet again. And oh, here we go. Jonas Bergqvist is going to go ahead and pull the trigger on a pit stop. So Bergqvist is going to go ahead and grab some fresh tires. And this could be a good strategy call to try to undercut Nico Perez. You ideally want to be in about like 3 or 4 seconds if you want to try for an undercut. But he does overshoot the pit box a bit. He's going to go ahead and strap on some brand new rubber. Now the thing is Gabinski will be the car he's going to kind of try to think about. But Gabinski is really on the back part of the track, so I think Bergqvist will go ahead and get this pit stop in and out before Gabinski can make the pass. We'll have to see if he can do it before Santos gets past, and Santos does get past. Bergqvist is just now coming out of the pit, so he did actually drop behind a lot of the GT3 guys. I think the only GT3 that he's actually going to come out ahead of is Chris Kyle. But here's the thing too though, this isn't really exactly a bad thing unless somebody tries to go for a no stop here. I mean, I could see the no stop potentially working out, but I don't know. I don't think, if this is a 1 hour race, I would have a bit more faith in the no stop, but I think we're going to see Nico Perez pretty much come into the pits probably at the end of this lap. He wants to try to cover off the undercut. And Bergqvist, here's the thing though, Bergqvist is in clear air, so the thing that would really make Bergqvist, or put Bergqvist in a lot of trouble here, is that he would have to kind of be stuck in traffic, but he's got clear air ahead of him. The only thing is the Lamborghini! The Lamborghini of Johnny Luna goes into the wall, round and round like a merry-go-round, and just getting a bit wide there. And is that a retirement from the Lamborghini? It is! So Johnny Luna is out. Lamborghini on track to getting a podium, but that is race done for Johnny Luna. That promotes Mario Paradiso into the podium spots here. This has really become a race of attrition here in the season finale. Sebring is not an easy track by any stretch of the imagination. So we'll just have to see if we can have the rest of the field survive, because we are down to 9 wow, sorry about that, 9 drivers left to go in this race here. And man, I mean, we've had some good battles here on today, but we've also had a fair amount of retirements. We have lost 4 hypercars. We still have all of our GT3s, and there's only 4 hypercars left on track. So this is going to be a tricky one for the drivers, but we'll see. I mean, here's the thing too, is you gotta just kind of keep focus as everything goes on, because everybody's so far spread out. There really isn't any battles going on here at the moment, and no battles kind of threatening to happen even here, because I mean, we see the gaps. So we're almost 45 minutes into the race, but still we haven't seen anything or any action really here since then. But that is kind of something that you get when you have a bit of a smaller field, and when you have a few DNFs already. So it does tend to happen from time to time. And here we go, we're about to have an overtake here. Although this is not for position, this is just for kind of nothing more than track positions. Bradley Kennedy does get past Johnny Luna. Wow. past Jonas Bergqvist, the wrong car, the wrong J name, as they're going to continue on battling it out. And actually, we're going to actually ride on board a bit with our current championship leader. This won't be like last lap where we got the loud engines, but it'll be an onboard. We'll just go ahead and relax with Jonas going ahead and making his way through the track, trying to make sure those tires stay pretty well warmed up. Because cold tires on a bumpy Sebring usually doesn't really bode well. So you really just gotta kind of just stick with it, honestly. You gotta be careful. He's gonna lose a bit of time to Perez, but I'm actually pretty surprised that Perez hasn't actually made a pit stop yet. But once again, we're just gonna have to see how it plays out. You can see he's downshifting going into the SS here just before the Le Mans bend, and then they go onto the Ullman Straight. Onto the Ullman Straight now for the Aston Martin of Jonas Bergqvist. Jonas Bergqvist now going ahead and still putting on a pretty good race. I mean, he doesn't really have to fret. I mean, if he finishes here, then he won't win the Drivers' Championship. But here's the thing about that, and here's the reason why I say there's no real reason for him to be concerned. It's because he's only back and forth because he made a pit stop. Everybody else still needs to make a pit stop in the GT3 field. So, I mean, he's not really in a bad spot unless he makes a massive mistake here. Let's see how much energy is remaining for the hypercars, and actually Mikhail Frokov might need to pit in. He'll probably be the first one to need to pit in. Paradisio and Kennedy probably can go around a few more times, same with Santos, but I kind of wish we did see that for the GT3s as well, but I know that's more of a hypercar statistic, so it'll be interesting to kind of see when these drivers do ultimately make their pit stops and when they'll make the pit stops. As Mikhail Frokov now is going to go ahead and continue on. And we're going to see some interesting action here, potentially, in a few laps time, especially when the pit stops are going around. And oh my. So, I'm actually just remembering that the Ferrari really does have some pretty unfortunate energy consumption there. So, I remember it too, because Frokov, he was trying to go for an O-stop in Sao Paulo last time around. And, yeah, it didn't really work out for him. He had to lead for a majority of the race, but just that pit stop really just didn't really do any favors for him. But, yeah, actually, here's something we're going to go ahead and do. We're going to go ahead and we're going to ride on board, actually, with our current race leader in the GT3s, Nico Perez. I'm going to call this this won't be temporary loud engines, this will be the Recus hydration break. So go ahead and get hydrated as we ride on board with the current GT3 leader, and we'll be back. Alright, hopefully you guys enjoyed a little bit of cruising around with our current GT3 race leader at the moment. Still the only one who is yet to pit, so I'm curious on what his strategy is going to be. Mark Santos has come into the pits. Mikhail Frokov also coming into the pits earlier on. So once again, we'll check the energy just to kind of see who still needs to go ahead and make the pit stop here. And it looks like it is just Kennedy gonna be the last one to make a pit stop here. So Kennedy and Perez, only drivers on track who have yet to make a pit stop here in today's race. We have just under an hour left to go of the race here. So we'll just kind of see how this plays out. It is Porsche v Ferrari, although not the Porsche v Ferrari battle that Kennedy wishes he would have, as he goes ahead and gets past the Ferrari of Adrian Kabinski. And now he's in the lead of this race temporarily, but he's got only 8% energy, so he will definitely come into the pits at the end of this lap. He will probably come behind quite a lot of these drivers. It does say that Mark Santos does have 1% energy, but that's going to update soon enough. Yep, and there it is. It does update. So he did bring it up to 79%, so both of the Ferraris believing that's how much energy it will take them to get at least to, well, I don't know. I don't think he'll get them to the end of the race. I think they will have to make another stop, but for the strategy that they are employing this time around, that might get them to their next stint. We'll have to see. Actually, let's do a little bit of a tire check, because we didn't do that initially. As unfortunately positions gained and lost still doesn't exactly function. That is a issue that has never really functioned. So everybody on the mediums here, so which is probably going to be the predominant tire, because you don't have any there's no tire requirements here in lightning speed racing. You just have to have 4 tires on your car ideally. You can run wets in the dry weather if you like. I don't see why you would, but you totally could. But anyways, so this is pretty much, I mean, everybody's pretty far spread out now, so I think it's pretty much really just everybody kind of in a holding pattern for now. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how the pit stop strategies will play out, but I think once again, yeah, here we go. Perez in the pit, so this is going to be a pit stop to watch. So he needs to get this pit stop absolutely perfect. He needs to not make any kind of mistake here, or else it is going to be a rough go of things. And he does overshoot the pit box a bit, so that's going to hurt him a bit. We'll see about Jonas Bergqvist now. He is going to be tucked in behind the lapped Lamborghini of Chris Kyle. So Chris Kyle is now going to be, he's going to be probably one of the deciding factors in this GT3 battle potentially. I mean, we could just see the SMR going through all those bumps. So it depends on how much Perez fuels up, because he might try to fuel for the rest of the race at this point. So we'll see if that's going to be the case. They make their way through the S's. But now here's the thing, Nico Perez is also going to be on a bit of a slower lap on his out lap. I mean, the out lap is always going to be a bit of a slow one to begin with anyway, but we also have to consider, and here it is, coming across the line now. Bergqvist will get past Perez, and he is one step closer to that championship here. But still a little under an hour left to go in this race, so there's still, we're not even really halfway through this race just yet. It is an hour and 45 minutes, so about 105 minutes of racing here in total. So I think that'd be probably, actually we're probably right about the halfway mark, I would say, of this race. So here we go, but he's stuck kind of behind this traffic. So Chris Kyle kind of holding him up here, which is going to allow Nico Perez to slightly close in a bit, but here's the thing, Nico Perez is going to be on ice cold tires here at Sebring, which it is Florida, so these tires will heat up pretty quickly, but it will take a little bit of time for the tires to heat up as Bradley Kennedy does come into the pits. just as Jonas Bergqvist goes in and gets past the lap to McLaren, he will get on through, and then he is going to go ahead and still try to continue to build that gap. And this is really the best time for Bergqvist to really build that gap because, I mean, he's in clear air now. He's got pretty good tires. Nico Perez, his tires are frigid at this point. So, once again, it'll be interesting to kind of see what the pace is once those tires do get all fired up. And here we'll actually, once Perez completes his lap, we'll do a bit of a comparison, comparing the last laps of these drivers to each other. So, I think this will probably come down to a bit of a strategy battle. But once again, I mean, the Hypercar Championship is pretty much already done and dusted. The GT3 Drivers Championship still up for grabs. The Teams Championship is wrapped up. I mean, if all else, Nico Perez will at least take away one championship this season. He'll have the Teams Championship wrapped up already. So Lexus did win the Manufacturers Championship in the GT3, so he'll at least get one championship. But he would love to make it the double. He would love to kind of replicate what Cadillac did with Antoine Poncet and get 2 championships in the season, the drivers and the team's championship. So we'll just kind of have to see how it plays out. Perez, he still can win. I mean, once again, anything can happen here at Sebring. Any racing in general, really, anything can happen. So now let's go ahead and let's do a little bit of this comparison now. So here's the comparison between the two. I mean, it's gonna be, here we go. I was looking for the setting of my overlay. So here's the last lap, right? So Perez was about 3 seconds off the lap time of Jonas Bergqvist here. So Bergqvist is still in a pretty good spot, I would say. I mean, once again, as long as he finishes the race in the top 3, or if he finishes it in P4, P5, and Perez doesn't win the race, as long as he's not outscored by 20 points, then he's got this in the bag. So, but, I mean, 50 minutes is a long time to continue racing, so it's not time to really start popping that champagne bottle just yet, but it will be interesting to see if Perez can catch up and bring back this championship, make it a double for the Lexus team, probably one of the oldest cars on the GT3 field. I mean, that car is, it's been around for a while, and I'm surprised like Toyota / Lexus hasn't exactly replaced it yet. You can kind of see Perez just a little bit in the back here as one of the Ferraris gets on through. That is Mark Santos getting on past. But we might see a Ferrari v Ferrari battle here in the nearish future, so we'll kind of keep an eye on that gap between the two, as that gap is kind of closing up a bit, as Santos and Frokov are trying to close it in. About 4 seconds of a gap there, about 5 seconds roughly, so still a good amount of battling that can happen on this race. Still a lot of racing left to go here. So I'm actually really curious to see, I mean, it looks like it's taking a bit of time for Perez's tires to warm up here, but it just kind of looks like that. Perez is probably in a bit of a holding pattern right now. We were talking a little bit earlier before the race actually started, and he did say that it was going to be a tall order for him to win the championship. Doable, but it would be a very tall order that we talked about, pretty much what he would need to do to win that championship. But ultimately, it is just going to come down to who is going to go ahead and get it done, who is going to go ahead and wrap it up. Because, I mean, we can throw all these if statements out there, but we won't know the result until the checkered flag hits. So, if Jonas actually does get a if he does win the championship here, we'll also try to get him into the commentary booth to chat up for a bit. But we are still going to talk with Nico Perez if he is available, just to kind of talk to next season. But ultimately, I'm actually really curious to see what the pecking order is going to be like for next season, because there's certainly going to be drivers changing cars. I don't think, I mean, it'd be interesting because Perez last season, well, here's the trajectory for Nico Perez across the seasons, right? In season 1, he was a Glickenhaus driver, driving the number 708 machine. And then he jumped into the Ferrari that I believe Adrian Gabinski is driving at this time. And then he made the jump to Lexus this season. So is he going to eye a return to the top class? Is he going to eye a return to hypercars? Or is he going to stay with the GT3s? And if he does stay with the GT3s, which one? The Mercedes is the newest one in the game, so he might make a switch to the German manufacturer. Or he could stay with Lexus, considering he did win a championship and he was pretty much, he's on the cusp of potential getting back or 2 championships here. Although right now it is still heavily in favor of Bergqvist, but. And then the question does become too, does Jonas go ahead and jump up in the hypercar? Does he jump from the Aston Martin hypercar, or from the GT3 to the Aston Martin hypercar? Does he jump into that Valkyrie? I mean, there's a lot of questions coming into next season. The pecking order could change pretty drastically, with all things considered. We could see that, I mean, we might even see one of the GT3 drivers, or sorry, one of the hypercar drivers jump down to GT3. We could see Mikhail Frokov go ahead and try to pretty much do everything there is to do in LSR. I mean, the only thing he hasn't done in LSR, to my knowledge, is win the GT3 championship. So he could give that a go next season. And funny enough, Antoine Poncet actually is also pretty close to that. So that is a very interesting prospect if you think about it. Because so far, nobody has done everything possible in lightning speed racing, in terms of championships. Mikhail has won the Constructors and Drivers Championship at some point in Hypercar, but he hasn't done either in GT3. So maybe we'll see that next season once again. Oh, speculation, nothing confirmed yet, but I mean, we'll find out in about a week or so. And I'm actually really curious to see what the grid's going to look like. Because Season 2 is a really big shift. For those of you who are a bit unfamiliar with the history, I'll be the historian for today as these drivers continue to put laps in, as we're under 45 minutes to go. We're an hour into this race. So, Season 1 was a hypercar only championship, just to kind of test the waters and really try to learn things, get some good, and just try to figure things out. I was the commentator, I think I was the sole commentator for the entirety of the season, aside from Le Mans when Philip Smolka actually joined me into the commentary booth for that one. That was actually a lot of fun. I think I was actually in Maryland at the time, visiting my girlfriend for Valentine's week during that point. I'd have to go back and check some records, but. And then Season 2, we brought out the hypercar, or the GT3s, to actually get into true multi-class racing. So we did split things up there. So some mainstays who did pretty solid in the hypercars did jump down to GT3s, including Nico Perez being probably the most prominent of them. And then now Season 3 still continues on with the GT3 and hypercar formats. And I believe that's what it's going to be next season as well. So now, just from kind of doing some research and stuff, I heard that the LMP2 cars in Le Mans Ultimate weren't exactly the most fun to drive. Now the curious question is, because unfortunately I don't have the expansion just yet, but can you mix LMP3s and hypercars? Because I'm kind of curious about that one, but it's all up in the air. So once again, Nico Perez will probably talk more about it if he's gonna jump into the commentary booth post race, which we're hoping he does. But we might have a battle coming up here, as it looks like Kennedy is closing in onto the Alpine. So we might have a round 2 between Bradley Kennedy and Mario Paradiso, or Paradiso. I believe it's Paradiso. Or Paradiso? Names are hard. If you ever become a commentator, just know that there's going to be 2 banes of your existence: audio issues and then trying to pronounce people's names. I have seen some very long names in my time as a commentator. Closing in on about 2 years, actually. So, wow, time flies. But yeah, so I'm actually really looking forward to Silverstone coming on the calendar for next season. I mean, that track, it was on the draft calendar, and it's 99.9% going to be confirmed to be jumping in. I mean, it is the nearest track, so, and that is the beauty of us getting the ELMS tracks. It does give us more opportunities with the calendar. So it'll be really interesting to see how Le Mans Ultimate. It's been a pretty fun platform. The only tricky thing coming up to next year, because it'll be interesting next year as well, because we're still gonna be doing seasons into 2026, hopefully. But it's going to be hard for me to commentate for 2026 because it's going to be so hard not to be biased towards the Genesis that'll be on track. All joking aside, it is a lot of fun. If you guys do want to get involved with the racing, go ahead and let us know, and I will try to get you a Discord link. So once again, just let us know if you'd like to get involved with the action. We would love to have you. And yeah, so hopefully you guys are enjoying today's race here. The gaps are pretty far spread out, but we do have some battles potentially developing here. And Kennedy had a moment that I looked away for a split second and missed it, so that battle is unfortunately no more, as Mikhail Frokov is now still trying to chase down his Ferrari teammate. Still trying to go ahead and give it his all here. Yeah, so actually, here's the beauty of having the YouTube, is that I can just kind of look back and see exactly what we missed, because I did look away for a brief moment and then missed it. So we still do have a battle here for the lead, potentially brewing between our top drivers at the moment, the 2 Ferraris. So yeah, unfortunately I did just miss that incident that happened, but I do apologize for that one, as we're going to continue to go ahead and watch these drivers as they go to make their way through. Less than 40 minutes to go on the clock. And for those of you who are tuning in, thank you guys so much for tuning on in, even though I believe the Texas sprint race is going on at the moment, unless that's later. But anyways, for those who have decided to tune in and hang out with us today, thank you guys so much. We really do appreciate you guys jumping in here and checking things out. And actually, I don't think we really missed anything between Kennedy and Paradiso. I think the timing might have gotten a bit messed up. Potentially. I think the timing table might be having a bit of a fit. So we'll just kind of have to see how the rest of this one plays out. Timing table issues have been a thing for a while now, which is unfortunate. The recent update made things a lot better than it was, because previously we couldn't even have a timing table up. if you just go back and watch the latest 2 rounds of the series when we went to Bahrain for the GT Challenge and the round before that, or the round after that in Sao Paulo, then you will have seen that we had some really, really rough times in terms of the timing tables. So right now it is Santos and Bergqvist still leading in this race here today, and as it stands right now, Jonas Bergqvist will be GT3 champion here in Season 3. He'll be our second ever GT3 champion in the Aston Martin. And I mean, it'll be a beautiful debut season for Jonas, as he will then go on to win the championship. But yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of questions on if some of these GT3 drivers are going to jump up to the hypercar category. If I were to kind of make some really bold predictions on some drivers who I think are going to try to jump over to GT3 next season, I think it might be, and this is just kind of a thought, I think it might be Ponset, Frokov, and Bergqvist potentially swapping classes. I think those are probably the 3 drivers most likely to swap classes, and it's all for a very simple reason. My reasoning is that, I mean, those 3 drivers are in prime. Well, actually, here's the thing too, is Ponset is probably the closest to actually getting a Grand Slam in terms of the championships here. So he really just needs to win the GT3 championship and get the team's championship, and then he'd have it done. I think Frokov is in the same boat. I have to research on Frokov a bit to see if that's exactly the case, but I do know for a fact that Ponset is pretty close to a Grand Slam in terms of championships. So he just needs the GT3 championships, and then he can get it. Frokov will be in the same boat. Bergqvist, not so much, because Bergqvist, he didn't win the team's championship this time around. He is looking very likely to win the drivers, but the team's championship will still elude him this season, so he could try to make another go at it to try to officially get kind of another tally. I'm really curious though, because so far nobody in Le Mans Ultimate has ever won all 4 championships. So yeah, I'm actually kind of hoping that somebody does attempt it, because it would be really interesting to kind of see just how drivers adapt to different car types. So, and I know that's one of the biggest things as a racing driver is adaptability, you know, learning a new car, learning a new track, learning new conditions, kind of all on the fly. But it'd be really interesting to see if one of our hypercar champions jumps down to GT3 to try to go ahead and get the Grand Slam. I think if somebody did get a Grand Slam, I think that would have to be the start of the Hall of Fame for Le Mans Ultimate here at LSR. So, we'll see. There's also a very good chance that nobody makes a driver swap, or like 1 or 2 people make a driver swap that aren't any of the people I mentioned a few moments ago, but there's a very good chance of that happening. But here we go, we do have a battle here brewing. It is Mikhail Frokov and Mark Santos. These two have done battle in the past, and they're looking to do battle yet again here. They were in opposing cars previously, and this time they are in the same car, so equal machinery. We'll see who gets it done. The first time I've ever seen this battle, it was a Porsche, or sorry, it was a Toyota versus a BMW, with Mark Santos running that Toyota hypercar, and then we had Mikhail Frokov in his championship winning run in the BMW. So we'll just kind of see how it goes. This battle is pretty much right here and now, so here we go. The 2 Ferraris are going to go in and duke it out. This is for the battle of the overall lead of the race here, as Santos is going to go ahead and try to close, or he's going to try to pull away, but Frokov going to go and try to make the move into the inside of Sunset Bend. This could end in disaster for both. Frokov to the inside, contact between the Ferraris, and it's a spin for Santos. Santos having a bit of a spin there. and he's got to get the car fully rotated. Luckily for him, Paradiso is a good ways back. He is just about a lap down, actually, I think, from this pack. So Paradiso is going to go ahead and get a little bit closer, but that might be under review by the stewards, as we did catch that on camera, and I'm sure they'll have their perspectives of it as well. So Prokop might be under investigation for a penalty. We'll have to see. I am just a commentator. I am not a steward, and honestly, thankfully so, because being a steward is, it's not an enviable position, but it is a much appreciated position here. So Prokop is now in the lead of the race. He's got a pretty good buffer now, and now we're back to pretty much right where we started, where there aren't really any battles happening on track. And Nico Perez on this second stint has just not had the car under him this time around, and Bergqvist has really been pulling away. So Perez is still going to give it the old Collins try, but it is not quite, it hasn't quite materialized for him here today, although he did say it was going to be a tall order initially. But there's always next season, and honestly, still getting P2 in this championship is a pretty good feat, so it was a good effort from him. But then again, something can still happen to Jonas, so it's not all over yet. I mean, it could be a bit of a spin, it could be anything, so it's not over till the checkered flag waves. But just a reminder again, just to kind of break out the points again. Even if Jonas Bergqvist comes in second and Perez wins, Bergqvist still gets the title. Because if Perez wins, Bergqvist would have to come in fourth or lower. He'd have to get outscored by 20 points by Nico Perez. And right now he's getting outscored by 0. He's actually outscoring Nico Perez by a couple of points. So not enough for Nico Perez, but he did give it a good effort. But I think just the kind of the pit strategy, but also, I mean, Bergqvist has been on some really fine pace here today. I don't think anybody can really question that. Bergqvist was about 2 seconds clear of everybody in practice. So in long race trim, I think Bergqvist did have a bit of an edge. Couldn't quite string it together in qualifying for pole position, but that didn't matter, as we are down to the final 30 minutes of racing here in Sebring, as the sun kind of begins to set here in Central Florida, as we also get ready to sunset the season. So it's coming closer and closer to the end, but we still got half an hour of racing action left to go. Probably going to be about 15 laps to go, roughly, for the GT3s, and probably closer to 20 for the hypercars. So once again, still a good amount of racing left to go. It's not over yet, as Prokop actually did get past, so I think they did pretty much orchestrate that to let him on through, as Perez is back in the pits. Or no, that's Gabinski back in the pits. So there might be another pit stop coming for a lot of these drivers. So I think that was probably the right thing for Prokop to do. I mean, I think that way he might actually be able to forego the penalty. So it'll be interesting to see these two go to battle again. I mean, they got such a gap anyway, and Ferrari, they can't win the team's championship, and actually I don't think either of these two drivers are really in too much contention for the drivers' championship. So actually, let's take a look at that real quick, because I know Prokop has only done one round so far this season, so we'll take a look at that. So in the Hypercars Championship, so Ferrari actually has a chance to jump BMW and Osoda Fraschini, which if they finish the race like this, then they certainly will. They might even jump Alpine. So there is actually still some championship. There's still some championship to fight for here in the Hypercars. Ferrari might be, actually at this stage, Ferrari will secure P3 in the Drivers' Championship. So this will be a mighty fine turnaround for them. They are currently in 5th, and now they're looking to jump up past Ferrari, past Asilta Fraschini, and even past Alpine. Alpine were looking really good this season. And Asilta got a vast majority of their points in Le Mans when they took the win, which is worth 50 points here at LSR. So it's double points, and I think it's more than that this time around. I think it's 1.5 times the amount of points for this race. It might be 1.45, maybe a bit more. I don't know. I'd have to double check in with Perez after this, but yeah, 3rd place is pretty much up for grabs here. Ferrari, look at this, a dive around the outside. Frogov goes deep. Frogov becomes a lawnmower. Frogov back in the 2nd, and this battle still rages on. I mean, you can't have anything but respect for these drivers at this stage, because they are going toe-to-toe, duking it out, fighting tooth and nail, trying to go ahead and get every single position that they possibly can. But, I mean, I think they got this 1-2 in the bag, and Ferrari will claim P3 in the Constructors' Championship right on the cusp. I mean, they were in 5th coming into this race, but the 1-2 in qualifying, the 1-2 in the race is definitely going to be a monumental upturn for Ferrari. So a monumental upturn indeed for Ferrari. But here's the question though that's going to come to my mind. I mean, granted, Ponsat isn't here. The championship, or the champion isn't here this race. So that does kind of lead me to think that if Ferrari has this lineup next season with Santos and Frokov, then I think Ferrari has a dang good chance coming up. That is just my opinion. I mean, you can just see how good these guys are racing here. I mean, Santos and Frokov are really going ahead and putting in some fantastic racing here. I mean, they're definitely head and shoulders above the rest, at least at this stage of the race. So we can hear the Tifosi are going to be celebrating this one. And that is going to be... that's arguably their best result of the entire season, honestly. So, best result of the season for Ferrari, and it's going to bring them up to 3rd in the Constructors' Championship. And here's the thing, Ferrari has never really had the greatest of luck here in Le Mans Ultimate in LSR. Unless they did in Season 2. I'd have to actually take some time to look for that Season 2 statistics, but... gonna actually take a quick glance at that. So I have to figure out and see what car Mikhail Frokov drove. But I know Mikhail Frokov basically dominated Season 2. But we'll come back to that. I'll probably have to ask, I'll probably get some information from Perez after the race to kind of see that. But regardless of that, I mean, we know Frokov is a 2-time champion here at Le Mans Ultimates. He didn't get the championship this time around, but he didn't really compete in many of the races, but he did have a bit of a snap there. And the Ferrari just behind. So we'll see if Ferrari will be a powerhouse next season. We'll just have to wait and see. Because, I mean, honestly, there is so much to play for here next season. It will be a fresh slate. Everybody will start with 0 points on the board. And ultimately, it is going to be probably a very chaotic and very hectic season. So we are running out of time here as the Ferraris get past Chris Kyle in that McLaren. Bobby Sidhu now. Oh, that's Adrian Gabinski getting back on the track, so Gabinski's had a bit of a rough one. He did have the pit earlier on, though, so we'll see. Oh, Bergquist is in the pits. Bergquist in the pits, so this might bring Perez back into play. If Perez can hold on for the next 20 minutes, he did pit in significantly later. So actually, this might have been Perez's strategy all along. He might have just pulled a blinder over us here. I will say that I said earlier that he didn't look like he had that car under him. But maybe he did. Maybe the strategy call is what's going to win him this race here. I think the championship might be a bit of a stretch here. But Bergquist is coming out of the pits now, so it won't be as long of a pit stop. He is about to re-enter the track, but Perez did get a pretty sizable gap here. So Perez will take some points away from Jonas Bergquist, but it won't be enough. It won't be the 20 points or so that he needs to go ahead and take this championship away from Bergquist. Bergquist is now quite a few seconds away now, about 26 seconds away from Nico Perez. But here's the thing too though, Nico Perez will be on older tires. He'll have less fuel in the car probably. And he might have to manage a bit. So, and here's another thing that we have to kind of know too, is that Chris Kyle and Bobby Sidhu are both marginally away from the back of that Aston Martin. So, I mean, realistically, this is still pretty much right in the hands of Jonas Bergquist. He's got one hand on the trophy already, and he'll probably be able to put both hands on the trophy soon enough. 20.5 minutes left to go here in the season finale of the Le Mans Ultimate Series here at Lightning Speed Racing. Season 3 is about to come to a close. It'll be the final 20 minutes of the season. And here we go. It is going to be another match between Frokov and Santos. They're going to go ahead and give it another go here as they make their way through. Now they're onto the part where the track significantly gets tighter as they make their way through turn number 1. And then they're going to go ahead and go through turn number 2. And then they're going to go through the Gurney Bend as they make their way to the hairpin. And we see Frokov is still pretty close to the back of the Ferrari. So the two Ferraris are going to duke it out. There's going to be a good amount of respect between these drivers. Frokov thinking about the inside. And this may be preparation for next season. We might see a return to the championship for both drivers. And Frokov could look to get his 3rd championship here. And Santos could look to get his 1st. We'll have to see, because right now they're in a really good spot. They're coming up to the back of Bradley Kennedy, who himself is pretty much chasing the Alpine of Mario Paradiso. So, I mean, there's 2 different battles here that are really close to each other for the entirety of the hypercar grid. Frokov trying to go around the outside. It's not going to stick this time. We'll have to see if he can eventually make it stick, but it doesn't stick this time around. And now look at this. Paradisio and Kennedy are close to each other. This is for the last spot on the podium. The move is going to be made. And here it is. That move is going to be made. Look about this move. Look how close the Ferraris are. We do see that Santos does have to go wide and cut into the corner. It does work out for him, and Bradley Kennedy does jump up into the last spot of the podium for now. And that Porsche is flying here. The driver, who is known for its resilience here, is going to continue to resist and continue to go ahead and make moves. And overall, it is going to be a fight to the line for both of these classes. But look at this. I mean, Kennedy's already 2.5 seconds ahead, almost 3 seconds ahead of Paradiso. So we'll see. I mean, this could still come to blows here. We could see the two Ferraris take each other out. We could see a I know the most famous version of this incident is Rosberg-Hamilton in 2016 Spain, which I heard Spain is actually coming to the game in a future update, so I'm really looking forward to that one. But it'll be all smiles from the Tifosi. And it's a double podium in the hypercar category. And at one point it was looking like it was going to be a triple podium, including the GT3 car. So still some good battling here. I mean, these guys are not going to give an inch. They're going to go ahead and get past Bradley Kennedy here. Well, one of them is. Frokov is now just behind, and he is struggling a bit now. But here we go. Here's another battle in the GT3. This is actually for the final spot on this GT3 podium. It is going to be Chris Kyle and Bobby Sidhu. The McLaren trying to hold off the Mustang. Can he get it done here? Is it going to be enough? The Mustang is fantastic in terms of top speed, so we know that the top speed of the Mustang is going to help him out a lot here. Bobby's going to try to look for any kind of inch, any kind of gap. If he can take an inch, then he's going to try to take a mile here. As, I mean, there's a lot of battles kind of sparking up here towards the end of the race. But the big championship question was Bergqvist going to be able to get the title here? And I think that answer is a yes, as of right now. But, once again, still a good amount of racing left to go here. But look at this, here comes the Ferrari of Mikhail Frokov. He's going to go ahead and try to extend that lead of the race. And he'll get past the two GT3s who are battling for a podium spot here as Santos goes ahead. Santos just almost straight lines the Mustang. So the Ford versus Ferrari battle is still going strong here, even in different classes. And this battle will be separated a little bit, but the Mustang still has a pretty good shot here. As we listen to the roar of the V8 of the Mustang as it makes its way through the circuit. Using a good amount of track limits here to try to close in the gap. Trying to close in the gap here to Chris Kyle. They're trying to close in the gap. I don't know if the gap will be able to be closed in though, but I mean, granted, there's still a good amount of racing left. Less than 15 minutes on the clock for the rest of the season. And honestly, it has been such a beautiful drive for these drivers here today. It is looking super likely because Chris Kyle and Bobby Sidhu are a lap down. And as the Alpine goes ahead and roars on through, that is a Mario Paradiso going ahead and getting on through. As we do see Chris Kyle running a bit wide there. So here we go. This might be the chance. The McLaren driver is going to be under some pressure now from the Mustang. The Mustang is galloping at full speed, trying to go ahead and trying to get past. It is going to be tricky because, I mean, it's closing stages of the race, and the McLaren is really not going to give up anything without a fight, especially a podium here. And actually, because we talked about Ferrari jumping up in the constructor standings, let's talk about the GT3 standings. We'll see if there's any potential battle here. Ford actually could jump a Ferrari here, though. Ford actually has a chance here, so if this Mustang can get into P3, I think that'll be enough for Bobby Sidhu to jump. I think that'll be enough for the Mustangs to jump the Ferraris here. So the Ford versus Ferrari battle in GT3 is alive, but it's going to involve a McLaren. it'll involve the McLaren of Chris Kyle. We'll see if Chris Kyle can hold off. If Chris Kyle holds off, then I think the Mustang will jump up into. Oh well, the Mustang will not be able to jump up into P4. This is for fourth. So Ferrari are currently in fourth at the moment with 97 points. Ford with 89. So this could be a battle that decides that little micro championship battle. We've seen the Mustang do pretty good here this season. Curious to see if they'll be a contender next season or not. We'll just kind of have to see how it all plays out. There is a bit of a gap now. Bobby Sidhu about 2 seconds back. As Santos is still trying to close in on his teammate for the day. But honestly, I will still stand by the fact that if this team duo does go at it for next season in the Ferraris, then I think Ferrari are going to be a massive problem. Cadillac and Porsche are going to have their hands full, but yeah, it'll be really interesting. We're actually going to go in for one more time this season. We are actually going to go ahead and do temporary loud engines. We're going to run aboard with the Ferrari for a quick bit. And we're going to crank up the audio a bit. We're going to take a quick step away. And for the last time this season, it is going to be temporarily loud engines in the Ferrari. We'll be back. So we are back for the final 10 minutes of the season. Brokaw made a pit stop. Santos well to pit as well. He actually might have even run out of fuel at this stage of the race because he's got 2% of fuel here. He's going to really try to make it to the end. Are we going to see Ferrari have a retirement due to a lack of fuel and just barely makes it by the skin of his teeth into the pit box? And that is unfortunate for Santos. That might actually cost him a podium, potentially. I doubt it, but it might. No, I don't think it will, because the other cars are lapped. So, Frokov will potentially get out ahead, but Santos could be pretty quick in the pits here, so he's going to go ahead and get into the pits, go to get a quick splash of fuel, as Frokov is now coming through the last few parts of the track. So, with under 10 minutes to go here of the season, not just of the race, of the season, it looks like Santos will get ahead here. It's going to be close. We might actually see teammates duke it out again. He does get come out ahead, but he won't be ahead at the end of the pit line. Mikhail Frokov, he's going to come back out. And Mikhail is going to come back into the lead of the race here. With under 10 minutes to go, 8.5 minutes left to go on the race here today. And that will be the end of season. Bobby Sidhu into the pits now, so I think Ferrari will keep that P4 in the GT3 Championship. So I think that battle is done. Ferrari will jump up into third place in the Hypercar Constructors Championship. So overall, a very good turnaround for the Tifosi, for the Scuderia. I mean, that could have really been being in 5th place was definitely not an ideal season for them, but I mean, getting a 1-2 here in Sebring in the final race of the season did definitely turn things around. As the race leaders in Hypercar get past one of the race leaders, or I should say the championship leader in GT3, they're going to go ahead and get around. So yeah, this is going to be it's been a season to remember here as we're down to the final 7.5 minutes on the season. I mean, you could have asked for a much better season than that. Antoine Poncet and Cadillac did win the Hypercar Championships, and Lexus did win the Teams Championship, but it looks like it's going to be Jonas Bergqvist who will bring this championship home. He's got to survive for 7 more minutes on track. He doesn't even need to push to get ahead of Frokov. Or sorry, not Frokov. I mean, that'd be crazy if he could, but he doesn't even need to push to get ahead of Perez. He just needs to finish the race at this point. That's pretty much all he needs to do at this stage of the race. He just needs to survive. He needs to just keep the car facing in the right direction. He's got about a lap on the cars behind too, so it would take a retirement to put an end to Jonas Bergqvist's race here, but it has been a good season from him, and I don't really think there's a lot of people that could deny that. I mean, he's done very good here this season. His debut season in the series, and I mean, getting a championship on debut would be a pretty good debut season, I would say. Probably couldn't really have a much better rookie season than that, but we're about to go ahead and see as the final 6 minutes of racing action is upon us, and then that'll be end of season for us here at Lightning Speed Racing for Season 3 of the Le Mans Ultimate Championship. This has been a fantastic season. I wish I was here for more of it, but hopefully that will change coming next season. We should have more commentators, more action, and overall more beautiful racing for you guys here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this channel every race this season. But don't worry, we got Formula 1 action, I believe, coming up in the coming weeks. And then before you know it, Le Mans Ultimate will be back, so you won't have to wait too long for us, as I'm sure the drivers will be ready to jump back in, straight into the thick of the action. So, and now it is officially the final 5 minutes of the season. I mean, like I said earlier, what a season it has been. This is going to be, I mean, I know this is a pretty old comment in the stream, but Creed Demi says that he loves the action, and honestly, I agree. He loves this stuff. I love this stuff, and I mean, can't wait to get back into the swing of things once Season 4 rolls around. Should be a good season. We should have some good tracks and some good drivers, but the action isn't quite done yet. I think we might have Santos and Frokov duking it out one last time for the race and for the season. So we'll just take a look at where these drivers finished this season, or where they were in the season coming into this round. Mark Santos was a reserve driver. He has managed to pick up 37.5 points, so this is Santos' only second race of the season. And for Mikhail Frokov, he did miss about half the season, so Mikhail Frokov will still finish pretty highly in the championship. He competed in Qatar, Imola. He did not compete at Le Mans. He didn't compete at Spa. He competed at Bahrain and Sao Paulo, and now here at Sebring. So, I mean, this driver lineup for Ferrari could be pretty good, but once again, we'll just have to see where the drivers opt to go next season, as the time is ticking down on the race and on the season. So we'll probably see another 2 laps from these drivers, and then it is going to be done and dusted. But before that happens, we do get a battle between these guys. So here we go. They're going to duke it out. They're going to fight tooth and nail to go ahead and try to wrap this up. I mean, really, they only got to race against themselves. The championship is pretty much locked up. Ferrari, pretty much, as long as these two don't DNF, Ferrari is going to get P3 into Constructors. And we might have almost seen a Ferrari taken out here in the final quarter. That was a late move there from Santos to try to outbrake his teammate. And it just didn't quite work out for them, but I mean, once again, it could still happen here. There's still a lot of racing action to go. I mean, it's not over till the checker flag is waving. 2 laps to go on the day here in LSR season number 3. The final 2 minutes of the season are here, and then they're going to go ahead and wrap things up and get ready for the next season. But Bergqvist is in the lead of the race, and he will take the championship. He's just got to survive the final 2 minutes, and this championship is his. So it has been actually, oh, look at this. Santos has fallen back a bit here as we're down. This will be the final lap of the race here. A minute 15 to go as they come across the line. The final lap of the season for the hypercars is underway. And the lights are flashing. It is, I just saw lights flashing. Might have been an accident, or I might just be seeing things, which either option is accurate, but they're going to duke it out. They're going to go toe to toe, wheel to wheel, bumper to bumper, wing to wing for the final minute of season number 3, as we see the 2 Ferrari teammates go ahead and fight it out. We'll see where Bergqvist is on the track here really quickly. So this will be Bergqvist's final lap as well, once he goes ahead across the line, if he does cross it before that checkered flag hits. As the 2 Ferraris are going to continue to duke it out. Final 15 seconds of regulation on the season. The white flag is out. Jonas Bergqvist will get another lap in. And then now it is the battle of the teammates as they make their way down the Ullman Straight for the final time. The 2 Ferraris will race in tandem. Okay, correction, they're not quite at the Ullman Straight yet, but the timer is out. The checker flag will be waving as Mikhail Frokov is going to go ahead and make his way down the Ullman Straight. Now this is the last chance for Mark Santos to get a move in here. But I believe the Ferraris will try to finish in formation here. The flash is there. So yeah, no dives really happening here. These 2 are going to finish. They're going to be close. It's going to be a run to the line. But it looks like Mikhail Frokov will win the hour and 45 minutes of Sebring. And that is done and dusted. Ferrari claimed 3rd in the Constructors' Championship. And they will take it all here. P3 in the Constructors, they will jump 3 separate teams to claim that position with a 1-2 finish. Couldn't have really asked for a much better season than that. But the driver on your screen now has made a mighty fine debut here this season. He's been competitive since the outset. And now he's going to come across the line here very shortly. He's making his way through the last couple of corners, through Sector 3. And now he's going to make a run onto the Ullman Straight. It has been a tough one. He has been spun around. And he's had some rough races this season. But ultimately, the attrition will pay off. He's got one more set of corners to go ahead and navigate. And for the first time in Lightning Speed Racing's Le Mans Ultimate Series, Jonas Bergfest will be champion of the world in the GT3 category. He clinches the championship in the final round. Jonas Bergfest, GT3 champion in the Aston Martin. And he has done it. Those victory donuts are well earned, my friend. Well earned indeed. So, it'll be Bradley Kennedy rounding out the podium as he slides across the line. Nico Perez, valiant effort there from the Dutchman, but ultimately it just wasn't enough. He gave it the best go. He got the team's championship at least, so he'll at least be able to celebrate that. But the GT3 championship is going to this man right here, who is actually now in the pits. Jonas Bergfest, champion in GT3. Alright, so, Jonas, I have a question for you, good sir, if you are watching. Jonas, would you be so kind to jump into the LMU party chat if you can? We're going to try to go ahead and get a quick interview with you as we go ahead and wrap up the stream here. So that is going to be all from us. So once again, Mikhail Frokov to Mark Santos to Bradley Kennedy and Mario Paradiso going to round out our 4 finishing drivers in the hypercars. And then it is Jonas Bergfest, the brand new champion, ahead Nico Perez, Chris Kyle, Bobby Sidhu, and Adrian Gabinski. So that is pretty much going to be it for us here. But we will go ahead and talk to... We'll go ahead and talk to... We'll talk to Nico Perez. So yeah, we'll make a jump over. So now with me, I have Nico Perez. So Nico, unfortunately, I don't think I was able to get an interview with the champion, but you got close, but not quite. Just talk to us about your race here.
It started well, and then it went downhill.
Kind of the...
But I think I got my first pole position ever in the championship.
Well, hey, there you go. That's a good thing. Now, ultimately, you did come out with a championship in the team's championship. Lexus did get that team's title, so you'll at least have a championship to take home. But the thing I wanted to ask you about, and the thing that our fans are curious about, is what can you tell us about next season?
What do you want to know?
Well, when can we expect to see cars back out on track?
That's something I'm gonna discuss this week with Jonah. Because I don't know if you mentioned, but we have a form out. Everyone can vote on some stuff. And we want to discuss the answers. Because we might make some changes for next season.
Alright, so once again, if you guys are part of the LMU, or if you're part of the LSR Discord, we do have a form out for the drivers to fill out, and we'll be talking later this week to go ahead and finalize everything, and then we'll make the announcements for Season 4. So it'll probably be roughly 2 to 3 weeks, I would say, roughly between today and the beginning of next season. Would that sound like a fair estimate?
Sorry, come again?
So about 2 or 3 weeks before the next season kicks off, would that be a fair estimate?
Yeah, somewhere. Maybe 3 weeks.
Alright. Well, is there anything else you want to say to everybody watching here and who has tuned in over the course of the season here, Nico?
Hope to see you again next season. Congratulations to Jonas and Ponset on their championship. Congratulations to Lexus and Cadillac on their championships. I think I'm saying it correctly. Ferrari stole third in the hypercars. Porsche came second. And Aston Martin came second in GT3. And Ferrari might have gotten third in GT3. But I'm working on the scoring as we speak.
Alright, so the last question we have before we're gonna go ahead and sunset the stream here is, are you planning on staying on GT3 for a third season, or are you thinking about jumping back to Hypercar?
I will not confirm nor deny any rumors.
We'd like to hear it.
Let's keep it there on that.
We like a little bit of mystery coming into the next season. So, that is Nico Perez, one of the admins here behind the Le Mans Ultimate Series here at LSR. A massive thank you to him and also all the work that the admin team has done over the course of the season. You guys have made a fantastic championship here. Yet again, like the 2 seasons before it, and I'm sure season 4 is going to be absolutely fantastic as well. So that's going to wrap things up here in this championship. It was a fun ride, and we'll see you guys again in season 4 on Path of Lightning Speed Racing. My name is Patrick Coleman, and I've been your host and commentator for today's race, and we'll see you guys next time. Have a good night.